you're on the air.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to the finals of the 2010 Arimaa World Championship. This is the first game in the finals featuring Adanac versus Simon. Adanac is a perennial contender. He's finished third in the last two World Championships. He finished second before. And is facing Simon, who is in his first World Championship. Adanac has the gold pieces. He is set up with one rabbit forward, just the A2 rabbit, very interesting. He has slightly unbalanced his setup with the camel on C2, elephant still in the center, but he has not unbalanced his horses. He has put one horse on either wing. Adanac has been one of the more experimental players with his setup. Simon is in the finals for the first time after, in the first round of the preliminaries, he upset 99 of 9. Shocking upset. If he wins today against Adanac, it would be an even greater upset because Adanac is even higher rated. 99 of 9 was the fourth seed. But it might be less of a surprise because we've seen Simon do so well in the preliminaries. Simon also, to get to the finals, defeated Omar, the creator of the game, holding Omar out of the finals.
Yeah, that's right. I was really surprised to get shut out this year. I mean, and this is, I think, Simon's first year playing too, so he's moving up very fast.
Yes, he was when he joined the Postal Tournament earlier in the year. He was, in 2009, he was the lowest ranked player in the Postal Tournament. Nevertheless, he had a fantastic result in the Postal Tournament. And he has continued his exploits here in the World Championship. So Simon is set up also with the flank camel and one of his horses in the center, so a little bit more asymmetrical than 99 of 9. But the fun part is that Simon's camel is on the opposite wing of 99 of 9's camel. So that tends to mean we'll have, in general, fairly sharp positions. Maybe each of the elephants wants to be on the opposite wing. Each of the elephants wants to go towards the opposing camel, and when the elephants are not together, it makes for a race. 99 of 9 advanced his elephant and also advanced his horse on Simon's non-camel wing. Notice he advanced the horse away from Simon's camel on the B file, not the horse on the G file. Simon doesn't have a horse on the G file, so he advances his horse, which is on Adanac's camel wing. I'd have to say that the opening is slightly to gold. I'm not sure what silver got out of the second setup. One of the things about having the second setup is that if the other player puts both of their horses on the same wing, you can put your camel on that wing where his horses are, and if he puts his camel on a wing, you can put both of your horses away from the camel. But Simon didn't do that, so I don't think he really got anything out of that second setup. And Adanac on move 3G has already moved his elephant over to be near Simon's camel. It's pretty cool what he's doing over there. The elephant would like to pull out either a rabbit or the camel. Simon has to decide what to do. What is he going to get out of his opening? Really hard for him to try an elephant horse attack against the C3 trap. He's contemplating here on move 3S. His elephant and the horse will be up against a camel and a horse around the C3 trap, so it'll be pretty slow sledding. It would take them a while to get anything going. Another thing that one typically does in an opening is say, well, can I pull out a rabbit? But there's no rabbit that's readily available to be pulled out. The one on A2 is way away from where Simon can go. Instead, Simon just moves his elephant over to where Adanac's elephant is. Now, that pretty much guarantees that Adanac is going to be able to at least pull out a rabbit in that wing. And I think that Adanac is probably happy to have both elephants over there operating on the wing where Simon's camel is. The only real danger for Adanac is perhaps formed by a camel and rabbit flood. That's not the worst danger in the world to be facing. But if that doesn't happen to Adanac, if he doesn't get flooded somehow, then he will be in a good position to just slowly pull out some pieces. And if the two elephants get in a deadlock over there on the eastern wing, then Adanac's camel on the western wing becomes the strongest free piece. So it's a pretty high bar that Simon has to overcome there, with both the elephants operating in the east. What is Simon going to get out of this opening? What could he get out of this opening? I guess the best thing he could hope for is maybe to get a hostage and somehow pass it off to his silver camel, bring it over to F6. Simon does, as Sophia does have slightly more firepower on that side because he has a camel and Adanac only has a horse. If Simon can pull something out onto that side and bring it back over to the F6 trap, maybe that's why then he would have the wherewithal to torture a horse or anything at all. Sometimes you don't want to pull out a horse because you can't punish it once you bring it to your side. But that's not the case here for Simon. If he could get out a horse or anything over to his side, he could punish it, torture it in F6, frame it, pass it off as a hostage, and so on. Maybe that's why Adanac was so concerned to bring back his pieces on 4G, a very cautious move to come up with a cat, unfreeze the horse, and bring the horse back. On the other hand, now Simon has hemmed in the gold elephant, and 5G is pretty easy to predict. Adanac is just going to pull out a rabbit. If Adanac did anything else with his elephant, like pulling the camel or flipping it or whatever, it could be easily undone. The rabbit pull, however, cannot be undone. Moreover, Adanac took an extra step back with his elephant. It may be because he thought, well, I don't have any useful step to do with the step whatever happens. Also, it's just a little bit awkward to be sitting there with your elephant against the wall. It feels like maybe it can get blockaded in there. I don't think there would have been 5S, even if Adanac had stayed with this elephant on the H5 square. But it just feels a little bit tense to be against the wall, and you're always a little worried, am I going to get blockaded in there somehow? So Adanac has gotten something out of the open. He's gotten a rabbit pull. Now, one of the great debates in Arimaa is whether pulling rabbits is actually a good thing or not. If there's something, he's got a rabbit out, Simon can't retreat that rabbit from H6 back to H7. It's a permanent strategic marker, but is it a strategic marker that is in Adanac's favor or not in Adanac's favor? Recently there have been quite a few six-fold swarms where a camel and a bunch of rabbits come on one wing, and the elephant on that side would normally like to take a camel hostage, but doesn't take the camel hostage, feels afraid to take the camel hostage from being buried under an avalanche of rabbits. Simon's move 5S, to me, does not look like it's going to be fast enough to accomplish much of anything, but it's a good idea. Okay, he wants his elephant on the other wing. He does not want to just continue to march around in the east, see what has gotten him so far. A rabbit has already been pulled out. So on 5S, he moves his elephant over. Didn't have any targets there. Maybe he'll have a target on the other wing. He's already threatening to pull out the gold horse, and then something would have to come up and rescue the gold horse. It's not so easy. Adanac can't just use 3 moves to pull the rabbit another step and retreat his horse with the 4th step. And in fact, Adanac passes on another rabbit pull entirely. This is very interesting. Now, it looks somewhat more favorable to Simon if he can get both of the elephants operating on the other wing. That advanced rabbit on H7 is a danger to be captured or framed if both of the horses are over in the east with the advanced rabbit. If both of the elephants are over in the west doing something, then the advanced rabbit in the east becomes an advantage for silver, not a disadvantage. That advanced rabbit can't be taken, and it makes the camel more safe, and makes the camel more able to jump out and harass those pieces in the eastern side. Furthermore, if Simon can get both of the elephants operating in the west, he has a chance to pull out the A rabbit from Adanac's side. His immediate concern, though, is he doesn't want his horse flipped out. Well, he maybe wouldn't be too mad at his horse being flipped out because there's no camel on that side to help persecute. If Adanac were to just flip out the horse, it would be a benefit to Simon. Simon could say, you flipped out the horse to the E4 square, I'm going to move it down to the G3 square where your horse ought to be but isn't. Use one step to defend the F6 trap so my cat doesn't die. So Simon isn't worried about that horse flip if his elephant stays right there, but it does mean that probably that his elephant doesn't want to pull out the gold horse. If Simon's elephant were to immediately go pull out the gold horse from B3 to B4, then his elephant wouldn't be next to the E4 square immediately unfreezing the horse, and he couldn't do quite such a good maneuver if it were flipped out. Still, not a bad position for Simon. I like it better than when both of the elephants were in the east. 6S is a big surprise to me. Simon brings his horse towards attacking the C3 square. Now, if you're going to set both of your horses on one side, the opposing player pretty much wants to bring his camel over to that side so it can be against your horses and fight your horses. If the opposing players already put their camel on one side, as Adanac did, he put it on C2 in the opening over on the west wing, why would you move both of your horses over to that wing where the camel is waiting? I really don't see Simon getting much out of that move, and once again, I'm liking Adanac. Well, Adanac can't continue what he was going to be doing in the west, but he might be able to get some play against the horse because he has his camel on the western wing. If he can get a hostage over there in the west somehow, he will be able to torture it in the C3 trap. Anything he pulls out on the western side and brings over towards the C3 trap, he will be glad he brought over because he has his camel on that side to help him frame, hostage, do whatever to the piece that he's brought over there. So I'm not really sure what Simon is up to. The only thing that I can say is maybe he will be getting the play to be on the correct wing. Having the horse over there will probably make it more so that the gold elephant has to come over to that wing. And if he can get both of his elephants on that wing, it does free up his camel in the east, so it's worth something. Interesting. Adanac on move 7G advances his camel and advances a rabbit to F2. You'll notice in the setup, Adanac only had one rabbit forward, as if one would say, I don't want my rabbits to be pulled out. I think rabbits that are pulled out are a disadvantage. I'm not intending to swarm. I don't want you to do anything to my rabbit. Now he's voluntarily advanced a rabbit from F1 to F2. He didn't need to do that in order to, say, protect his camel. He could have protected his camel by putting his dog from D2 onto C. He advanced the rabbit from C1 to C2 behind his C trap. So what does that voluntary rabbit advance signal? To me, it signals the possibility that Adanac has in the back of his mind, maybe I'm going to have an opportunity to swarm. Maybe if the odds work out right here, I can get my camel, rabbits, horse all swarming forward on the western wing. Of course, that swarm, the camel swarm is usually double-edged. One doesn't less one as Omar. Omar just did you run right out there with the camel first thing and then see what happens. The camel swarm that Adanac may be contemplating here is a little bit more tricky because it has a dual threat. One of the threats is to use the camel to bring an opposing piece out. Take one of those horses out and have that horse be a hostage on his side. And for that, it actually pays to advance the camel slowly so it doesn't immediately get taken hostage, so that you have some opportunities to take a hostage yourself rather than give a hostage. So it cuts both ways. Having a dual plan makes that camel swarm much more dangerous. Here on 7S, Simon has retreated his horse and pulled out the gold camel. I wouldn't be too scared of that for Adanac. Adanac can undo it in any number of ways. Which way Adanac decides to undo it will be very telling. If he decides to get his camel safe, oh, we have a move here. So he has advanced his horse to get the camel safe, and he once again has a threat of flipping the silver horse into the C4 square, where it would be soon framed. Of course, that would be a silver did nothing for his move, and we can rest assured that silver will do something. So now, what does silver want to do? If he is not by any means afraid, I was going to suggest taking the gold horse hostage, pushing the gold horse from B4 to B5. I'm not sure about that because it will be difficult for him to get anything done on his side. The gold horse will not be frozen there, and it can pop over up into the A6 square, which is not a bad square for the horse. So maybe the silver camel on 8S, sorry, the silver elephant on 8S should just move to C4, freezing the gold horse, and then reposition his own horses. But no, he actually did push the gold horse to B5, and I don't expect it to be left on B5. I expect Adanac to advance it right up to A6, or at least to A5. The gold camel is in danger, is hanging there on the C3 trap. Adanac, at a 90-second move game, will certainly not miss his camel being in danger. One of the differences between the finals of the World Championship and the preliminaries is that the players have 90 seconds per move to think in the finals, rather than just 60 seconds. 90 seconds move doesn't prevent all blunders. There still are piece blunders. You will still see pieces hung sometime in the World Championship. But it does allow the players the luxury of putting the move on the board, playing it in their interface, looking at it for an extra 10 seconds to say, did I just do something really stupid? And that little bit of extra time should prevent most kinds of blunders. So what is the danger to that gold horse anyway? I would have to say not much. Sometimes when the gold horse is taken hostage by the silver elephant, and both the silver horses are on, there is actually a threat to freeing the gold horse. But the silver horses really aren't both on the eastern wing. That little silver horse hanging out in the D file is harder to get that to participate in the frame. One needs that horse to help corral the gold horse. One needs both the silver horses just to hold it in place before the frame gets set up. So I don't see any danger to that gold horse, and sure enough on 9G, Adanac did pop it straight up to the A6 square. You know, there's more danger to silver than there is to gold in the goings-on in the East at the moment. If I were silver, I might just say, hey, I need to, on 9S, I need to advance my camel a couple of squares here. I need to get something going in the East. Because the stuff that's happening with our elephants there in the West is more dangerous to me than it is to Adanac. It actually is not that exciting. Of course, you could flip out right now on 9S. The silver elephant would flip off the gold camel, and Adanac would say, thank you very much, because I've got my gold horse up there in front. So what Simon actually did is move his horse away from B6, behind the trap to C7, inviting the gold horse to come into that square. Come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. If I were Adanac here on 10G, I would not be worried about any danger. I would drop my elephant right onto the D6 square, pushing the other silver horse away, and making any kind of frame impossible. Then the gold horse is just at liberty down there around the trap. If the gold horse on 10G were to move directly to B6, then now we don't even need to contemplate that. Adanac did exactly what I said, pushed one of the horses away. And so now his gold horse is in a nice attack position. It can be taken hostage by the silver elephant, but it can't be framed. The silver camel is way too far away to provide any help. I'll have to say that by move 10 here, Adanac has won the opening. Adanac already has an advantage, and gold has to do something in a hurry. Silver has to do something just to prevent losing a piece in the c6 trap. Notice the silver horse is threatened. And I don't see anything better for Simon than coming right back into the b6 square with his horse that he abandoned before. If he doesn't come back into b6 with his horse, Adanac is going to take b6. Like, for example, if Simon were just to put his dog from a7 into b6, the gold horse would push it right away and say, "You have got to take me hostage, Mr. Silver Elephant. You are going to be stuck doing the c6 trap because I have an elephant horse attack going." So it may not be clear to somebody who's just beginning the game what is good for gold about silver taking that gold horse hostage. Silver could take the gold horse hostage now. In fact, gold is probably going to force him to take the horse hostage if he doesn't take the horse hostage voluntarily on 10s. And so then we'll have the elephant deadlock. We'll have a situation where the gold elephant cannot leave the c6 trap. And it can't leave the c6 trap because it would lose the gold horse if he lost it. But it would be the same way for the silver elephant not being able to leave the c6 trap. Silver elephant couldn't leave the c6 trap either without the elephant horse attack starting to take some pieces. So if we have a situation where neither elephant can leave, it's an elephant deadlock. And if neither elephant can leave, why do I say it's more advantage for one side or the other? Oh my goodness, 10s Simon has blundered his horse on c6. He created phalanx on d7 so that the gold horse could not push through and capture the horse. The gold elephant couldn't push through and capture the horse. But that phalanx doesn't stop the move that Adanac has just played on 11g. He moves his horse to b6 so the elephant can come into the trap, taking the silver horse by pulling it into c6, not by pushing it into c6. Terrible to see a piece blunder, and I said at 90 seconds move we would still see piece blunders, and we have. It's unfortunate to see it so early. Well, I already had said that Adanac was winning the opening. I had said that Simon's elephant could not afford to leave the c6 trap. His elephant did leave the c6 trap, and he paid the price immediately, even sooner than one would have expected. So now Simon is a positional disadvantage as well as being at a material disadvantage. A horse is a very large material disadvantage. Just for the record, though, I have to point out that Simon, in his first round game, at the beginning of the preliminaries, Simon kicked off the preliminaries by playing against 99 of 9. Simon silver against gold for 99 of 9. And exactly the same thing happened. In Simon's game against 99 of 9, he also blundered a horse in the opening, because 99 of 9 had an elephant horse attack, and Simon left the field with his elephant. Amazingly, Simon came back to win that game from a horse down. His upset win in the first round of the preliminaries was from a bad disadvantage, just like this one. Well, I didn't see how he could have come back then, and I don't see how he's going to come back now. But he moved on 11s to prevent further material loss in the c6 trap, and he activated his camel, so we're going to see some counterpunching. That camel will come out, the camel has to come out and do something, because the silver elephant is tied to c6, and will be tied to c6 probably for the entire rest of the game. So if the silver elephant can't leave the c6 trap for the rest of the game, Simon's going to have to lead any counterattack with his camel. On 12g, 99 of 9 moves his elephant away from c6 immediately, pointing out the fact that his gold horse was not a hostage. He's threatening to bring the silver horse over onto his side, and he moved the gold horse one step away so that it can't be taken. The silver camel is now in danger of capture. It could be captured is only defended by the silver cat on the f7 square, so Gould could push back with his elephant into e7 and then dislodge that cat from f7. So silver must defend his camel somehow. And then there's a question of what is he going to do with the rest of his turn. By the way, I would also recommend to Simon defending by advancing. Like, say, if you were going to defend that camel and you had a step to do it, move the silver rabbit over, or move the silver rabbit up from g8 forward, because every time you advance, you make the position a little bit more tense. Wow, Simon bravely once again defends by creating a phalanx. This time, however, his phalanx works. He has created a phalanx on the e7 square so that the Gould elephant cannot push in there, just like he did on the d7 square before. And this time, the Gould elephant has no help to make that attack work. Simon also, interestingly, moved his horse even further to the east. Now, he has preponderance of force on the east with a horse and a camel against just a horse, but it does make his extremely weak. I think the easiest way for Adanac to shore up this position and to really make some progress strategically is to get another piece up there around the c6 trap so that he can threaten something, to really tie down the silver elephant. The silver elephant right now isn't tied down to c6 because nothing is threatened in c6. But if Gould could get a dog up there, let's say, oh, and 13G, Adanac seems to be hearing what I'm saying. He has moved his horse back to the c7 square and activated his dog. The camel moving behind the dog on move 13G, moving to the d3 square, is not only unfreezing the dog so that the dog can move over to the west, it's also saying, I'm going to send my camel to the east. So we're doing a dipsy-do switcheroo. We're going to try and get the dog around to the west, camel over to the east, and the horse and the dog are going to take control of the c6 trap, tie down the silver elephant, and with the camel over in the east, silver's camel, what's it going to do? For the record, I should say that what the silver camel did do in the game against 99 was it found a way to sneak back behind the c-trap, sneak back into c7 and get a horse hostage, and that was critical in Simon's comeback. But right now, I'm talking way strategically, way ahead. At the moment, the c6 trap is in danger. Silver must defend, probably by moving his elephant onto the c5 square, just in order to avoid losing a piece immediately. I don't think it would be all that bad, in addition to moving his elephant to c5, to move his dog up to b6. But also he could maybe start thinking about how is he going to maneuver his camel in behind there to go after that attacking horse. So the camel could do two things. I mean, one of the things that the camel can do, as I was suggesting earlier, is make a run for it down in the eastern south. But now that the Gould camel is going to be there, that's not quite as attractive as it was before. Maybe instead, the silver camel should come in through the 7th rank, across to where it can go after the Gould horse. And boy, does Simon's move look like that's what he has in mind, because he made a way for the camel to come. Adanac might here just take time to make a defensive move, saying, I don't want that camel to cross, I want to pull the rabbit into the d7 square. No, he doesn't go for the d7 square. Instead, he continues with the plan of bringing the dog around to the b6 squares where that dog is headed. So Simon has a pair of plans here. One of his plans would be to get his camel down to where it is threatening to come across against the Gould horse. Another one would be, wait a minute, my b6 square is in jeopardy. I want that dog in there. So I'll slow him down by putting my dog in the b6 square first. It may be that Adanac has time to get a rabbit in the way, get a rabbit on the 2nd rank in the way of that camel coming over, even if Simon now takes this move to get the camel in position. Let's see, what would Simon do on 14S? If he moves his camel over to e6, it's frozen, so he'd have to pull up his dog into the f6 trap to get his camel down to the e7 square, and then one more move to get a rabbit out of the way, and he's still not quite threatened. So he even needs a little bit more than those 4 moves to get set up. Not a bad plan, though. That's something to do. Puts a little bit of pressure on. Alternatively, he could just move 2 rabbits out of the way. He could shift his E and D rabbits one to the left. And in fact, he does shift his E and D rabbits one to the left. But he doesn't use his 2 steps, as I was going to suggest. Use the other 2 steps to get his dog on B6 and slow down the gold dog from getting in there. Now, Adanac has lost his chance to pull a silver rabbit to the 2nd rank. He can no longer do that camel delaying maneuver that I was looking at. But he can immediately take the B6 trap with his dog, and I assume that he will do 1 step forward with the dog, a rabbit behind to unfreeze the dog, the 3rd step to get the dog on B6, and then perhaps 1 more step to protect the rabbit on C3, which would be hanging if those were the first 3 steps that happened. I think that's a very powerful move. Probably even move that C3 rabbit forward to C4. Adanac is never going to lose control of the C3 trap again this game. At least it appears to me that he won't. Might as well get the swarm running, get the pieces full. And so if you're going to move the dog forward up there into that B6 square, move the rabbit forward to C4 too, as well as the rabbit forward to B4. Interesting. Adanac declines to take the B6 square. So Simon still has a chance to do that. Am I not seeing something? Is Adanac actually planning to take that dog hostage, for example? Maybe he says, please move your dog to B6 because I want to take it hostage with my horse. I'm not so sure about that. I don't quite understand what's going on with Adanac's slow swarm. Why did he move the dog up there if he wasn't going to B5, if he wasn't going to move it all the way to B6 and he's giving a chance for B6? In any event, the silver camel now, presumably Simon will want his camel to get towards where it can unfreeze, sorry, it can go after the gold horse. If he just moves it 2 steps, right down to, heck, he could use all 4 steps and move it all the way to D7. But if he used all 4 steps to move it all the way to D7, then Adanac would just float to D5. So let's say he moves it down to E7, threatening to come across at the gold horse on the next turn. And he would want to leave his cat there on D7, by the way, because if he moves his camel to E7 and moves his cat away, then Adanac will, after all, flip the rabbit from C8 to D7 just to get in the camel's way. So instead, we move it. Okay, I like that move by Simon, 15S. We move the camel getting ready to come across, and we take the B6 square away from the gold dog by putting the silver dog in the way. Now, Adanac might decide to run here. If he can't prevent that camel from getting across, he might say, well, it's better off if I just run away with the horse. And sure enough, he does run away with the horse. Wow. Okay, so Simon has scored a strategic victory right there, I have to say. Because I said earlier that 99 of 9 would own C6 for the rest of the game. That is to say, Simon's elephant would never be able to leave the C6 trap for the rest of the game. And now we have the possibility that Simon's elephant will be able to leave the C6 trap. He might want to. I think it would not be bad for Simon to continue getting his camel across. Sure enough, he's playing the 16S. He already played the 16S, I was just about to suggest. Not only you don't want to have a rabbit in your trap, but hey, you're down a horse. Let's just throw caution to the winds. Advancing moves are all good when you're down. And now forcing the gold horse to retreat even more. So what we're going to soon have is a situation where the silver elephant is again at liberty. The silver elephant will be able to do something. Okay, it's a far cry from making up for having lost horse. It's not a strategic advantage. Adanac declines to run away with the gold horse. He pulls another rabbit in the way. If Simon wants to play this game, he can move his camel over behind the rabbits that Adanac has pulled and get through. After shifting the rabbits from the A and B file over to the C file, he can get his camel around to that trap. So I don't really, know that Adanac bought himself anything with that. The one really constructive thing that Adanac did with move 17G was that he got his camel more over towards the east. Once the camel is in the east and there's no silver camel there to oppose it, then it will be able to make some threats. So here, if I were Simon, I would go ahead, continue getting my camel closer towards the gold horse. Maybe move the camel back and the rabbit over. I would probably also take a step to shore up the F6 trap. Notice that the silver horse on G6 is hanging. Well, there's nothing that can attack. The gold elephant and the gold camel are too far away. But this move here on 17S is where you have an extra step. You can start working on your plan of getting the silver camel even closer to the gold horse. You can continue that plan and still have a step to spare to pop a rabbit up from F8 to F7. I think that would be a very good move. And I don't really approve of what Adanac has done. He's retreated his horse, but he hasn't really retreated his horse. Even if he were to retreat his horse further once the silver camel comes to get him, there would still be the gold rabbits that would be in danger. We could see a situation here that's actually strategically bad for Adanac, where the silver elephant can leave the trap, and the gold elephant can't. Oh, but Simon's move did not do much to bring about that day, that glorious day in the future when the elephant will be able to leave the C6 trap. For the silver elephant to be able to leave the C6 trap, the silver camel has got to be sitting on the B6 square. And so since Simon didn't get any closer to that configuration, he hasn't really gained anything at all that I can see. If I were Adanac now, I would continue to move on 18G, continue to get my camel over into the east where it can start making some threats. Well, he does one step with the camel and uses other steps. Yeah, I don't know how. Still the plan for silver here is he needs to get his camel onto the B6 square. Oh, I see what Adanac threatened. Okay. So what Adanac is threatening here is to move his dog back one square and move rabbit up back one square to A4 and move rabbit up to B3. So he's threatening an elephant blockade. That to me is more of a tactical trick than any kind of thing strategically going on. And the strategic issue here, what is going on in this position is the placement of the camels. And Simon has already taken some liberty with his elephant on move 18S. His elephant is now a little bit more in the middle of the board. Maybe it's going to do something else. I'm not sure that he should have done that. I think he should have worried about his camel before doing that with his elephant. Okay, great. Now on 19G, Adanac makes a cute move of taking over the B6 square with his dog. It seems to be mandatory for Simon on 19S to just boot that right out with his camel. He can move his rabbit out of the C6 square, move his camel through C6 into B6, pushing the gold dog back. It's too bad that he's doing it in that order. I mean, that now when he does that with the camel, his camel is in some danger of being taken hostage. His camel itself is not holding any hostages. And he really should have started rotating his camel on move 17S. But oh well, still, it's better to do that now than to let the alternative here, if he doesn't do anything, is that Adanac could push his elephant through the C6 square onto D6, pushing the rabbit out of the way, and then now has control of the C6 trap again. So I would think that Simon would want to get his camel on B6 now, slowly. It's late to the party, but get there somehow. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what Simon's plan would be here. To prevent losing control of C6, he would have to perhaps advance his cat up to D6, or bring his elephant back around to D6. They look very good to me. So the square for the camel is indeed the B6 square. So maybe Adanac, if Simon did that, would just say, thank you, now I've got all my pieces retrieved. Also notice that for Simon to avoid the blockade he was going to be in, he had to push away one of the gold rabbits. I said earlier that we could get into a position strategically where the silver elephant can leave, but the gold elephant can't leave. Well, how could we be in a position where the gold elephant can't leave? The only way we could have gotten in a position where the gold elephant can't leave is if silver had some piece that he was threatening to take in C6, holding some piece hostage or having framed something in C6, something to be threatened in C6. Now what's going to be threatened in C6? Nothing at all, it appears to me, because if the camel now gets into the B6 square, the dog will be, he'll be pushing the dog back, the dog will be gone, there won't be any rabbit. The rabbit that was on B4 is now on A4, where it's a lot safer, and the rabbit that was on C4 is now on C3, where it's a lot safer. Okay, well, Simon has decided not to take the B6 square immediately with his camel, but he did at least recognize, hey, he had to do something about the C6 trap. So now, I again recommend that gold should be doing something with his camel, should be trying to establish it, or even actually gold on 20G could pull a rabbit from the H6 square to the H5 square, pull it with the cat. The reason for pulling the rabbit is to feed it to the camel, but that would be along the lines of what I'm saying. Do something on the other wing to get the silver elephant out of there, create a double threat. If he continues to fart around in the east, he's actually at a disadvantage in the east, right? If you look, what are the forces that both sides have over in the east? Silver has the camel, gold doesn't. What is gold going to accomplish over there? What is he going to win by, he could flip a rabbit out or pull a dog out, or what's he going to do? He's actually got less force there. Wow, okay, so he has cemented the swarm. Now, this looks like a dangerous strategy to me, dangerous on Adanac's part. One thing that Simon could do at some point, and I would probably recommend doing immediately, is swapping the B7 rabbit and the C7 camel. Those two pieces can just swap around, and he can get the gold camel closer to the B6 square. He can't get the gold camel to the B6 square at the moment because his rabbits are in the way. But if he did that maneuver, he would be able to get it there. And he would also be preventing Adanac from pushing the dog forward, following the rabbits, just some kind of continued swarm. I think that would be a good move to shore things up and to have a stronger threat. And despite what I said about what is going on strategically here in this position, it's about elephant mobility. To me, it's about whose elephant is going to be able to leave and do something else. And that move by Simon of switching his camel and his rabbit, camel over to B7 and rabbit to C7, is getting closer to saying to the gold elephant, hey, you can't leave. You can't leave because I'll make a capture there. But I can leave. You can't make a capture here. Well, it'll be a while before you make a capture here because I've got that camel there helping on the defense. So switching the camel and the rabbit around on move 20S would serve the effect of making the silver elephant more mobile. That's the purpose. It would say, my silver elephant wants to leave. It's going to be able to leave a little bit better if I do this maneuver first. Of course, the silver elephant could just leave right away if it wanted to, but that might not be as clever. If it left right away, then the C6 rabbit would just get flipped to C4, and it would be fairly quick for Simon to retake that trap. But doing some other maneuvers first will make it slower before Adanac can take over C6. I'm not sure what else Simon has to play for. I mean, obviously Simon cannot play in the east, where he doesn't have a camel and Adanac does have a camel. What would that be about? So Simon can't do anything there unless his elephant can go over there. The question is, when is my elephant going to go over there? Oh, well, also the elephant could stay. elephant could stay in the west, but what is Simon going to accomplish in the west? He's not going to threaten anything in the C3 trap. So he just needs to win the elephant mobility battle around the C6 square. Switch his camel around there. After he's done this switch where he gets his camel to B7 and his rabbit on C7, bring a cat rabbit in there to help shore up that trap even more, so that it will take even longer for him to lose it. So he's threatening dog frame if the C6 rabbit gets flipped out. Just so he's threatening to knock. Oh my goodness. So I see move 20S has been played, and I see the purpose of move 20S is to get the silver camel to the B6 square. I approve of the silver camel getting to the B6 square. It's going to take me a second to work out the tactics. Before, the silver camel could not occupy the C6 square, and in fact I thought it still couldn't because it would get flipped out. But now that I look a little bit closer, the gold rabbit on B5 is preventing the gold elephant from having the maneuvering room to flip out the silver camel. So that wasn't, at first I thought that wasn't a very good move, but now that I look at it closer, it looks fairly likely to produce a dog hostage. Adanac could prevent the dog hostage by pushing the dog forward and then reoccupying B6 with a rabbit and then coming in behind with the horse. But no, then the silver dog would come out, and the silver dog would come out to the A5 square, and the silver camel could push over the gold rabbit that had occupied B6, taking the dog and the rabbit hostage simultaneously. I'm not quite sure whether that hostage position holds, but it looks pretty good superficially. But then, if Adanac doesn't do anything, if Adanac does nothing on this move, and he decides to take out the silver dog as a hostage. That is a very humorous move. He once again uses the silver rabbits to get in the way of the silver camel. It's just a delaying tactic as far as I can tell. If Simon would now move his dog out of the way, out of 7, and then the camel could switch around to B6, and then the camel would be able to around behind the rabbit and back into the trap. We are definitely nearing the time when silver will be able to leave the C6 trap, when his elephant will be able to do something else. Simon needs to hurry because he doesn't want to let everybody get away. I mean, let the whole procession get away. But even if the whole procession does get away, number one, he will still have a rabbit that he can frame. That rabbit on B5 will still be able to be persecuted in C6, potentially framed, tying down the gold elephant in some way. And notice the silver elephant is already defending C3, so that silver dog is not immediately going to be threatened with capture. The silver dog can be taken hostage. So once again, I say all that's going on around the C6 trap is Simon needs to get his camel into the B6 square. And the only way I see for him to get camel into the B6 square is to move his dog out of the way from camel back to C7 over to B7. And then he can get around into that square. Maybe the dog right back to C7 to help with the trap control. So since when? When did Simon lose a horse? Going back to move 10, when Simon lost the horse, what has happened? What kind of progress has been made? To me, the progress that has been made, it looks like, number one, Simon has balanced his forces. He had, at that time, a camel and a horse, both on the same wing, both in the east. He had nothing in the west. Since then, Simon has moved his camel into the west, where it wants to be. His forces are now better balanced. What else has happened? Silver pieces are further forward in the west. Gold pieces are further forward in the west. Who does that benefit? It benefits silver. I think since losing the horse, Simon has only made progress. Things have only gotten better for Simon since that time. He will soon have a dog hostage with his camel, he will be in a configuration where he is more able to leave than the gold elephant is able to leave. Well, that's not a given, okay? I shouldn't say that right off the bat. Because the silver elephant here we're waiting for move 22G. The silver elephant is standing there preventing his dog from being pulled out. The silver elephant can't do that and run over to the east. If the silver elephant would run over to the east, yes, it would be problematic because his dog would be threatened by the horse immediately. Okay, Simon Adanac on move 22S has once again tried to use a rabbit to obstruct the silver camel. Now the rabbit on B6 that wanted to move into C6 in order for the camel to get into B6. That rabbit can't move unless the C6 rabbit comes to C5. Fine, you got to do what you got to do. That rabbit has to come to C5 to get the camel into B6. So be it. In fact, I think he should do it immediately. Having advanced pieces, normally I wouldn't want to have a rabbit advanced around that trap, but oh well. It will give the silver camel a nice dog hostage. It will provide more delay for gold to take over that trap should silver decide to leave with his elephant. One thing about that move is that I would probably finish it off with the 3 steps, let's say rabbit in C6 down to C5, B6 over to C6, camel into B6. I'll probably finish that move off with my elephant back to the C4 square. And the reason for moving the elephant back to the C4 square is that I don't want that rabbit pushed immediately into C4. Not a big deal. Yes, the silver dog would get pulled out. 22S has been played, and we still do not have the silver camel on the B6 square. However, we will probably have it on the next move, because the silver elephant is going to push out of the B5 square where it is. When it pushes out, we will be able to advance the rabbit from B6 to B5, then the camel from B7 to B6. So whatever Adanac does here, I'm expecting the next move to be just what I said. Oh, I did not see that Simon's move would allow Adanac to run away with his dog. Now that Adanac has run away with his dog, I expect to see a rabbit frame. On 23S, Simon can push the gold rabbit into the C6 trap. And that frame looks like it would be fairly easily broken because there's only a rabbit guarding B6, but the camel will take over B6 in short order thereafter. A lot of maneuvering since move 10. A lot of Adanac using the silver rabbits to get in the way of the silver camel. Okay, it's all very clever. I really don't think it has gained gold a whole lot. I really think it's actually gained silver more than it's gained gold. One thing, too, strategically, is that when you're down material, you want some kind of a race. At some point, you're going to want to say, heck with this, I'm going to go for the goal race. I'm going to go here while he's there. But it's hard to do that racing if you don't have some pieces forward already. Well, a lot of the maneuvering that's gone on has brought some silver pieces forward, brought all those silver rabbits off the back rank. Those 3 silver rabbits that are on A6, B6, and C6 were all previously on A8, B8, C8. Wow, Simon surprised me with move 23S. He really doesn't want to give up his dog hostage. I was just saying how it's not so bad to have a lot of pieces forward. Who cares if you have a lot of pieces forward, because at some point you're going to want to make a run for it. But he didn't want his dog forward, apparently. So now Adanac is making a threat with his camel over on the other wing. It doesn't seem like a great timing to me for that threat because, well, the silver elephant can start moving back in that direction. It's going to be really hard for gold to take over the C6 trap, really hard for gold to make a material threat in C6 should the silver elephant decide, I'm going to make a run for it side. And it wouldn't have to be this move. It could be next move that the silver elephant decides to make a run for it, using this move to say, pull the gold dog out and get the silver camel up to the b6 square after all, albeit with a rabbit out in front that he maybe didn't want out in front. But still, that's a good move to get the silver elephant closer to the other side and say, I'm going to make a run for it to the other side, and because of all the maneuvering that's gone on over there in the west, when my elephant leaves, what are you going to do to me? My elephant can leave and you can barely hurt me, or it'll take you a long time to hurt me. So it's timing. It's how long will it take you to hurt me, how badly. Another possible move for 24S would be to pull the gold dog back and take over that square with the silver dog, maybe even getting a silver rabbit up into the A5 square, maybe not, maybe starting a run with the elephant immediately. Whole point being, how long is it going to take you to start hurting me when my elephant does make a run for it over against the gold camel? So Adanac has, in fits and starts, one step here, one step there, moves his camel over to the west, and now over to the east from the west, and now it is in position to start harassing the silver pieces over there. But in that whole time that it took the gold camel to get over there, the silver elephant has been getting in a better and better position to cross over and say, you were unable to damage me once I cross over. So here we have the silver elephant taking 2 steps just to get out there. I expect what gold would like to do is retake that silver dog hostage immediately. The gold horse would like to pull or push, probably pull the silver dog into the b4 square. That would take all 4 steps. If gold were to use all 4 steps doing that, guess what? The silver elephant would run over and take the gold camel hostage immediately, and suddenly silver would have a very nice counterplay for the missing horse. So I don't expect that to happen. He will do something to defend his camel. And then the question is, what will silver be doing since that silver dog was not taken hostage? Perhaps silver will be using that dog to frame the gold rabbit in c6. Well, I've been wrong before. I have several times already in this game failed to see a good move coming for one side or the other. But to me, it looks like gold is in positional trouble. When I say gold is in positional trouble, I mean, let's be realistic here. Positional trouble when you're already ahead by a horse is not a lot. Wow, I'm very surprised. Adanac went on the attack with his camel. Silver is almost on 25G. Adanac pulled out the horse hostage. Now Simon is essentially obliged to come over to that wing with his elephant. Is very forcing what Adanac did. The silver elephant needs to come back, unfreeze the horse, use the horse to defend f6 so that f6, he doesn't lose a cat right there in f6 right away. When he runs away with his elephant, the silver dog will be in danger. Yada, yada, yada. I can say all of this, but what about that gold camel? Looks to me like Adanac has just said, I'm going to give up that gold camel as a hostage now. If Adanac wanted to give up the gold camel as a hostage, why did we have all this maneuvering going on first, which was essentially shored up Simon's position before giving up the gold camel as a hostage? On 25S, I just expect the silver elephant to run right over there. Oh my stars and garters. Okay, so Simon decided not to run over immediately with his elephant, which creates a very dangerous situation. To me, it looks like that horse being taken hostage, well, maybe not so bad. So the f6 trap is defended only by the rabbit, doesn't leave his cat hanging. He needed to do something to defend his cat, so he moved his cat away from f7 to e7. But then his horse would have been hanging. The gold camel could have captured the horse in the f6 trap, so he redefended the F6 trap, and he has gotten his dog off of the B5 square. I'm not really thrilled with getting the dog off of B5 onto C5, because on C5 it's only 2 squares away from the trap. Nice move by Adanac. Interesting move by Adanac, let me say. I think that his attacking with the horse is a very good idea. Simon now cannot do the move on 26S. Simon cannot now go back with his elephant, unfreeze the horse, and retreat the horse, because the gold horse will just pop right through F6 to F7. But what Simon can do to stop this is move his silver elephant onto F5, pushing the gold elephant back to F4. And if he does that, stopping the elephant horse attack, the elephant camel attack is no good. The camel cannot, I don't see a way for the camel to get that silver horse hostage with the silver elephant sitting on F5. So I think if Simon makes the right move, he's in fine shape here. And he's in fine shape around F6, and he will have a threat soon in the C6. That rabbit, that gold rabbit that's hanging out in the middle, will soon be threatened in C6. It's not immediately threatened because there's a silver rabbit occupying C6, but that gold rabbit can't retreat. So I think Simon really needs to jump with his elephant into the F5 square, pushing the gold horse back to F4. If he doesn't do that, then there will be a gold horse doing an elephant horse attack in the east. And we saw how long it took Simon to undo the elephant horse attack in the west. Adanac had an elephant horse attack in the west, and about 10 moves later, Simon was able to undo that, get his camel all the way across, and do something. Simon has played exactly the move I suggested on 26S, and the question is, can Adanac do anything with his camel, like to get that silver horse hostage or get the silver horse in trouble? If Adanac can't do anything to get something going in the east, then he'll pretty soon just lose a rabbit over there in the west. I don't see it. Pushing the silver horse once, you just leave the gold camel frozen. Pulling the silver horse twice, well then the silver elephant, I say pulling the silver horse twice, meaning move the camel from H5 to H4 and then over to G4, pulling the horse down to H4, well then that would just give up the camel hostage, because silver could pull it back up to G5 and tuck the horse in to prevent it from being unfrozen. So to me, it looks like the gold camel just has to retreat in order to avoid being taken hostage. Maybe pull the silver rabbit with it. Retreat twice, pulling the silver rabbit with it would maybe not give up the camel as a hostage. I'm not quite sure, looking at it. And then Simon has some counterplay. Then Simon's camel will have control of the C6 trap. The tactics will start over on the other wing. So it looks like Simon is doing just fine here positionally. Yeah, he's down the horse. Okay. He doesn't have anything that nearly compensates him for being down a horse. Wow, 27G sure took me by surprise there. So Adanac has decided to go ahead and attack with his camel around the F6 trap. And Simon on 27S, very quickly, before I could even say it, Simon did what I would have recommended he do, and that is activate his camel. So Simon now has an active camel, and he's got a fair bit of a blockade against the gold elephant. Well, the gold elephant can still push away into C6, but not without losing a piece in F6. So the gold elephant is sort of committed to defending the F6 trap. I really like Simon's 27S, threatening a big blockade, and if that blockade were to be put into place, it would leave Simon with a free camel on the other side. This is just going to absolutely blow my mind if Simon comes back from a horse loss against the number 3 seeded player. Against the number 4 seeded player, he came back from a horse loss, and that was incredible enough. Here he has come a long way position. No material, no material. He's still down a horse. If I had to take over one side or the other in this position, I would definitely want to take over the gold side because I would want to be up a horse in this position. But Simon's position has gradually gotten better and better and better, while Adanac's position has gotten worse. It's really been quite remarkable to see. So what could Adanac possibly do here to prevent the looming elephant blockade? Oh, and I love too, by the way, using that advanced gold rabbit, rather than trying to capture that advanced gold rabbit, trying to use it to good effect. Well, one thing he could do is try to undermine the blockade with the gold horse and say the blockade is being held in by the silver dog on the D4 square. I'm going to go after that with a horse. Or another thing, and this is what Adanac did, is say, I'll just go ahead and give up on that advanced rabbit rather than being blockaded. Well, that makes it pretty easy for Simon. Now, Simon doesn't really have any realistic hope of a blockade now on move 28S. So if it were me, I would take that gold rabbit in a hurry and say, yay, I've got some material back. Let's see, how bad trouble would his dog be in? If he took the rabbit, would his dog be in? If he took the gold rabbit, silver dog is threatened to be pushed out. But actually that doesn't look like much of a threat, because that silver dog, if the gold elephant goes away after that silver dog, then he's going to have to give up some hostage. He's got too many pieces hanging in the east. So the silver elephant would be able to make a counter threat at least as big as that dog. So I don't see why not take that rabbit. Boy, yeah, I mean, you want to think about an elephant blockade with the rabbit, but if it's not in the cards, grab some material. You're only down a horse for a rabbit. Your position has gotten a lot better. You're threatening perhaps to take a camel hostage. Oh, that's the other thing he could do. Okay, he could take a camel hostage here instead of taking the gold rabbit. I don't really like taking the camel hostage because gold is to a swarm. That gold rabbit will be part of the swarm. The camel hostage is worth less than a rabbit in this position. So just go for the capture here on 28S and be glad that you have fought back to that extent. I guess there's more than one way to take the gold rabbit. The elephant could just flip it into the F6 trap, or the elephant could push it to E6 and the silver cat could finish it off, or the elephant could pull it to F5 and the silver horse could finish it off. Of all of those moves, I guess the reason that I'm thinking of just flipping it with the elephant is because that leaves the silver elephant still close to the gold camel, and the camel hostage threat is worth something. It's not, camel hostage isn't super in this position, but it's certainly worth more than 0, and so keeping the elephant near that hostage position is a good idea. The other two ways of taking the rabbit would move the elephant further from the hostage position. Or I guess moving the elephant all the way into the E6 square would not move it that much further from the hostage position. Simon goes into a deep think here. I haven't been paying attention to the reserves of the players at all, because it seems to me that they've been moving fairly quickly. But I just noticed as I was glancing that Adanac had 18 minutes of reserve, and Simon has under a minute of reserve left after thinking for 3 minutes on that move. So Simon does take the rabbit. He ends with his elephant on F6, which actually is just as close to the gold camel as it was before, at least in a straight line. It's still 2 squares away. I'm not sure why that would be any better than having left his elephant out on F5. Maybe it's equal. We'll see. I think gold might get greedy here and want to go after the silver dog, but retreating the gold camel is a high priority. Even though the silver dog is a tempting target, giving up a camel hostage is not not very wise at this stage. I think he needs to retreat the camel with at least one step. Maybe he could retreat the camel by a couple of steps and then also push the silver dog, forcing Simon to make a counter threat because he wouldn't easily be able to save his silver dog. Sure is nice to have that rabbit back, be on the board. Also the silver pieces, you notice the silver rabbits have come forward. The silver rabbits none of them are threatening gold immediately, none of them are in this great position. But when you're behind on material, it's nice to have your pieces somewhat generally forward. It just means that more good things can happen. Yeah, sure, maybe they'll get hostage and taken in the enemy traps, but having them getting hostage and taken in the enemy traps at least means you were within squares of the enemy goal line before they got captured. Adanac is having a longer think than usual on move 29G. I guess he sees something as a foot strategically. Although usually one saves the long thinks for when tactically the position is really complicated. And it's sort of resolved tactically. It's less complicated tactically than it had been. Well, Adanac does use two of his steps one of his steps to retreat his camel and two to threaten the dog. Oh, was that in fact a move where he will be able to capture the silver dog? No. So silver, he may have been trying to retreat his dog. With his fourth step, you notice how the dog came from E4 to E3. He might have done that because he didn't want silver to push the dog from E4 to F4, making a counter threat, a material threat of a dog, so that it would just be a dog trade. And so he's trying to win a dog outright. But there's at least one tactical save so that move does not win a dog outright, and that is for the silver elephant to push into the E3 square. If the silver elephant pushes into the E3 square, pushing the gold dog into F3, then the gold dog on the F3 trap is threatened. And that means at least that silver will have time to save his own dog or get a dog in return. So it doesn't look like silver is immediately going to lose any material. And in that context, maybe that's part of the reason, though, that Adanac retreated his camel only one. Maybe he's thinking that he's going to tie up the silver elephant around the C3 trap. And if the silver elephant is tied up around the C3 trap, then the camel will be able to threaten the silver horse. So he didn't want to retreat the gold camel too and make it in a worse position to do threats. So even though Adanac's move does not win a dog outright, I approve of the position of the gold camel. I'm trying to see, is there any other way? So the only other way, perhaps, to save the silver dog would be to run forward with the silver camel onto the B3 square. Before this game is over, the silver camel may indeed make a charge. We may see an eastern swarm from silver. But I don't think now is the time to do it. Oh my goodness, Simon is down to 10 seconds, according to my clock. I sure hope he doesn't lose on time after he's made such a wonderful fight of the position. And he moves with just 6 seconds remaining. Oh my, he made a move that gave up his dog. He must not have seen, in spite of thinking for 2 minutes and 17 seconds, he must not have seen the save. He could have saved his silver dog, and instead now the gold horse can just capture it on 30G. Oh my, what a disappointment for Simon after all that. He works and works and works to get a rabbit back from having been down a horse for nothing.
Karl, I was going to say, on this move, can't silver fence that horse on C5? Like push it push it with the...
Yeah, he can fence the horse, but the horse can be defended. The C6 trap can be defended. So he's not...
Okay, so the elephant would move to D6 and is defended, you think?
Yeah, the elephant can defend that trap. Giving up a horse hostage here, or even a horse frame, is really irrelevant. Because, so supposing that Simon's dream comes true here, or Omar's dream comes true, and silver manages to frame the gold horse on the C6 square, and then it's or take it a hostage. in order to maintain that, the silver elephant will still need to be in the region. And look what's going to happen on the other wing. If the silver elephant has to be there to help maintain them, then in the east, the gold camel is all up and ready on the get-go to take the silver horse as a hostage. So Simon is just in very bad trouble after giving up that dog. Now down a dog and a horse for a rabbit. And Simon has run out of time. Actually, there was really very little that he could have done. He was in just a rotten position. So I have to say, once again, this game proves the tactics is way more important than strategy. We had a tactical blunder where Simon gave up a horse for nothing in the opening, and then after that, we had 19 moves in which Simon steadily, strategically outplayed Adanac. Gained ground, strategically, slowly fought his way back into it, and culminating with winning a rabbit and having a very defensible position. And then 19 moves later, he blundered his dog for just really a hopeless situation. So it's just a shame after he fought all the way back. Well, that's something about time too. Simon, I think, used his time better than Adanac did. He used up his reserve, used his 90 seconds on every move, while Adanac moved quickly and ended the game with 17 minutes still in reserve. But on the biggest moves of the game, the two moves that counted the most, one of them cost Simon a horse, one of them cost Simon a dog, and that was more important than anything that happened before or after. Congratulations to Adanac on kicking off the finals with a win. Adanac had won the top seed of the finals by beating the #1 ranked player Chess and Go in the preliminaries. Now he's used his #1 seed to good effect and won, and will probably face the winner of 99 of 9 and Tux. So there's some intriguing matchups coming up, and we got the World Championship off to a very interesting start. I should thank our sponsors, Z-Man Games and Board Games for Us, for contributing gift certificates as a prize to the winners. We're down to the final 8, and the final 3 win prizes, so we're getting close to the money. Z-Man Games is also the publisher of Arimaa. Are we going to have a post-game interview?
Yeah, Adanac is in the game, is in the chat. Can you hear us, Greg?
Yes, I can, yeah.
So, Adanac, you had a free horse on move 10, and then from move 10 until move 28, it seemed to be all going against you.
Yeah, I couldn't find a good plan there. I think the big problem was I couldn't get a rabbit onto the D7 square earlier, and that allowed the camel to get to the west side, so then I just kind of bailed out of the west and tried to regroup in the east, but that didn't work out either. I'll have to look at this game and see, think of a different plan. Or probably listen to your... Sorry?
Oh, yeah, you did have a chance to pull a rabbit to the D7 square.
Sorry, which move was that?
You were rotating your dog around.
Oh, right.
You used the move to rotate your dog rather than to pull the rabbit.
Right, yeah, after I made my move, I thought about that, and then I thought, well, I'll do it later, but again, it's never...
It was you when you had the chance and rotated your dog instead. So, yeah, so that chance didn't come up. But then I thought that you would swarm it anyway. You'd say, damn the torpedoes, never mind that his camel is going to take my horse hostage. I'm just going to swarm that quadrant anyway.
Yeah, I thought about that, but it seemed that he might take both my dog and horse hostage. I was trying to find a cute way to maneuver around to maybe get my dog onto B6 and then pull his silver dog down on the south side to get a double attack, but that didn't work either.
with that tooth is supposed to.
Well, anyway, it was very interesting, and it was a lot of fun for me as a commentator to see your position from being absolutely overwhelming to see it slowly deteriorate. I think it was very key that you gave up that rabbit right at the end of the game.
It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I congratulate you on giving up the rabbit and trying to reap rather than trying to fight on without losing any material.
Right. I was more concerned about the blockade, and I was kind of hoping that if I could push the dog down the middle, that the combination of the A4 horse and my elephant might hem it in somehow. I was worried about my camel, though, at the end. That was the one thing I miscalculated was around move 27. I thought I was going to get my horse into the north, which I thought would decide the game, but when it failed to get there, and then I moved my camel up to H6, I think that was a bad move, too.
Yeah, very strong 26S by Simon to thwart your plan. I was looking at that and thinking that's the only possible move to push your horse back, otherwise it's strategically hopeless. And it turned out very strong, and then set up the blockade threat the next move. Yeah. But I do congratulate you on your 28G. Well, yes, on both 28G and 29G were what needed to be done. Although we thought that if Simon had pushed your E3 dog into F3, he would not have actually lost any material there.
Right. I think I was planning to, he had done that. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think if he had done that, I was going to move my dog to G3, pull the silver horse to H5, and then maybe move my horse to G5, contingent on ensuring that my horse was safe. I think that would have worked, though.
Yeah, I think you're then somewhat in a position to make two threats on opposite sides, and then Simon's last card to play there would be a camel charge. I think that would have sort of mandated a camel charge to help C3. Somehow he would need to re-free his elephant from what you were doing, which would have been a strategic chore given the actual position.
Yeah, he did well, though. I mean, he fought really hard from a position where I thought I could just coast to the end, but yeah, he definitely outplayed me from moves 10 to 28 for sure. Yeah.
Well, fun game. Congratulations on moving ahead.
Well, thank you.
Scoring the first victory of the round, and it turned out to be very pleasant to commentate as well.
Well, thanks. I'll look forward to hearing that for sure.
Congratulations, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Omar.
So we're going to have Simon on as well?
I don't know. Let me check the chat room and see if he's available.
Oh, they're also talking about the spectator contests. I had forgotten that starting in the finals, spectators can predict the winner and the number of moves for the game. And whoever is the closest on the number of moves, having predicted the correct winner, wins the prize for that game. So there's an additional something to root for. Not only do we have who's going to win the game, but in what length are they going to win it. It didn't certainly look good for the people who had predicted Adanac to win quickly, given the amount of fight that Simon was putting up. But the timeout ending it in 30 moves is a very short game, so whoever predicted on the short side should be in a fairly good position.
Yeah, Simon says he doesn't have a mic.
Okay, well, then I'll sign off, and thanks so much. Thanks again to Z-Man Games and BoardGamesForUs.net, and see you next game.
All right, thanks a lot, Karl.